Hey Met fans, Brian with Mets Mayhem here. Mets took on the St. Louis Cardinals Friday night after winning the first game 4-1 on Thursday. David Peterson on the mound for the Mets, Miles Michaelis for the Cardinals. This was an exciting game. Let's get straight into it. Peterson on the mound for the Mets, facing the Cardinals leadoff hitter Victor Scott II. Peterson gets the first pitch of the game, a called strike on a high fastball out of the strike zone. Maybe it's a sign of things to come. Are we going to have a large strike zone north to south with umpire Ben May behind home plate calling the strikes? Peterson falls behind Scott 2-1, but then manages to get him to fly out to Tyrone Taylor in center for the first out. Luken Baker gets to start a DH for the Cardinals. Peterson falls behind him 2-1 as well, before getting him to line out to Taylor again in center field for the second out. Wilson Contreras is up next, and Peterson struck him out on a 1-2 slider, thrown down and in that Contreras chased. Torrens did a great job blocking in the dirt and applying the tag for the third out. Miles Michaelis on the mound for the Cardinals. He's pitching to Francisco Lindor, leading off for the Mets. And Lindor took a 1-1 four-seamer on the inner half of the plate, landed to left field, but it was playable by Scott II for the first out. Juan Soto, who's starting to hear some boos from Met fans yesterday, grounded a 2-2 curveball right to Contreras at first base, took it to the bag himself for the second out. Now, Pete Alonso came up next, and he smoked an 0-1 slider to the deepest part of the field, banging off the fence for Alonso's first triple this season. So the Mets have a runner on third, 2 outs, Jesse Winker up. He's playing DH today, batting cleanup, and Winker gets an 0-1 changeup on the outer part of the plate, but he pulls it to right field for a line out straight to Jordan Walker, and that ends the first inning. Nolan Arenado leading off against Peterson, and he made Peterson work. He got the count to 2-2, fouled back 4 pitches, before flying out on the 9th pitch of the at-bat to Tyrone Taylor center field for the first out in the second. Brendan Donovan then came to the plate, and he singled on a 1-1 pitch, thigh-high fastball over the middle of the plate, lined it to center field. Now we have Jordan Walker up, runner on first, 1 out. Peterson gets Walker swinging on a 2-2 slider, just dropped out of the strike zone. So now we have 2 outs, runner still at first. Thomas Sagesi up, and he singles on a ground ball to the right side into right field, but Donovan is held at third. So now we got first and third, 2 outs. Peterson has a chance to get out of this inning without giving up a run. All he has to do is get Pedro Pajes out. But Pajes hits a 2-1 ground ball to the right side, drives home Donovan, puts the Cardinals on the board 1-0. Sagesi moves to second. We have first and second, 2 outs. Center fielder Michael Ciani is up. Peterson gets him to hit a ground ball to Alonso. Alonso tosses it to Peterson covering, and he limits the damage. So the Mets are down 1-0, bottom of the second after Cardinals strike first. And Michaelis gets Vientos leading off to ground out to shortstop, Thomas Sagesi, who fires over to Contreras for the first out. Brandon Nimmo's up next, and Michaelis works him inside for a first pitch fastball for a strike. He comes right back with a slider on the next pitch, and Nimmo hits a routine fly ball to right field for Jordan Walker. So 2 outs now, Luis Torrens up, and Michaelis gets Torrens to ground out to Brendan Donovan, playing second base in this game. He throws it over to Contreras, and that ends the inning. Peterson strikes out leadoff batter Scott II, swinging on a 2-2 slider down and away for the first out. Luken Baker is struck out, looking at a 2-2 slider on the outside corner for the second out. Peterson then strikes out Wilson Contreras for the second time this game on another pitch low and out of the strike zone, with Torrens completing the throw to first. So 3 up, 3 down. Peterson strikes out the side at the top of the third inning. Brett Baty playing second base today and leading off the bottom of the third inning after having his first back-to-back games with multiple hits this season. And he does a good job this at bat. He doesn't swing at anything outside of the strike zone. He walks on a 3-1 pitch. That brings up Tyrone Taylor. Baty steals second. Now we have Baty at second base, no one out. Can Taylor at least put a ball on the right side, move Baty over to third base? Unfortunately not. Taylor softly lines out on a 2-1 slider right at the shortstop Sagesi for the first out. We got the top of the lineup with Francisco Lindor. Baty's still in scoring position. Unfortunately, Lindor chases a high fastball, flies out to right field for the second out. That brings up Juan Soto, and he grounds out on the first pitch to Contreras at first, and that ends the inning. So the Mets squandered an opportunity to tie the game with Baty at second base and no one out. Peterson going to work in the top of the fourth inning, facing Nolan Arenado, leading off. He gets ahead of Arenado 0-2 before getting him to chase a slider out of the zone, but Arenado put it into play, a ground ball to third base that he beats out for a single. So now Peterson has Brendan Donovan up. He's attacking the zone. He gets ahead 0-2. He gets him to hit a ground ball right to Alonso, who throws to Lindor covering at second base, which forces Arenado out at second. So the Cardinals trading out to swap base runners. Donovan in for Arenado. Now we have right fielder Jordan Walker at the plate. During the at-bat, Donovan advances to second on a wild pitch. So now we have a runner at second base and one out for Walker. Walker works the count to 3-1 before hitting a ground ball to the right side into right field for an RBI, driving in Donovan. So now we have a runner on first base. We have Thomas Sagasi up, and Peterson gets him to strike out, swinging at an 0-2 down and in slider for the second out. That brings up Pedro Pajes, who drove in the Cardinals' first run. Walker at first, 2 outs. Peterson strikes him out on a curveball in the dirt. Torrens does a great job blocking it, and then completes the throw to Alonso at first to get the third out. Miles Michaelis working with a 2-0 lead, pitching to Pete Alonso, leading off for the Mets in the bottom of the fourth inning. Michaelis appeared to have wanted no part of Pete, walking him on a 3-1 pitch. So Alonso at first, no one out, Jesse Winker, and Winker expands the strike zone, swinging at an 0-1 slider high out of the strike zone, pops it up to the catcher, Pajes, behind the plate for the first out. Now Mark Vientos at the plate now, hoping to build off of yesterday's game, where he hits his first home run of the season. He swings at a first pitch slider on the outside corner. He flies out to right field to Walker for the second out. And I know Vientos made an out on this pitch, but I'm liking that he took the outside pitch to the opposite field instead of trying to pull it. I think if he continues to have a consistent, proper approach, it's going to lead to positive results. Now we have Brandon Nimmo up, and he singles on a ground ball up the middle. That puts runners on first and second with 2 outs, bringing up Luis Torrens. Michaelis was able to get out of trouble, striking out Torrens on the 10th pitch, looking a curveball that may have nicked the top of the strike zone. But remember, back in the first inning, home plate umpire Ben May seemed to have a generous upper strike zone, and that may have been the case here too. So the Mets had a chance, 2 runners on, but they were stranded to end the bottom of the fourth inning. Peterson strikes out leadoff man Michael Ciani, flailing at a slider down and away out of the strike zone, and in the dirt for the first out. So now we have Victor Scott the second. He hits a line drive to the right side that Alonso leaps and makes the jumping catch for the second out. Peterson then went to a full count on Lucan Baker before freezing him on a slider down and away to retire the side. Brett Beatty led off the bottom of the 5th inning, and he hits a line drive double to right field to get the Mets going. Tyrone Taylor then ripped the first pitch slider into the right center field gap. Michael Ciani tried to slide and knock it down to keep it to just a double. He missed. Right fielder Jordan Walker backed it up and fielded it at the warning track. Brett Beatty scores. The Mets are on the board 2-1. Tyrone Taylor a triple. Give him an RBI. Time run at second. No one out. Top of the lineup for Lindor. Hits a hard line drive to right field, but not deep. And with no one out, Mets are not going to risk it. So 1 out, Juan Soto up. Met fans are trying to stand behind Soto. They give him a standing ovation. And he rips a hard ground ball into right field. Ties this game up. Mets 2, Cardinals 2. New game. Let's go. Alonso up, and he hits a ground ball into the hole at shortstop. Sagasi dives to his left. He knocks the ball down. Gets to his knees. He fires to Donovan covering at second. Forces Soto out at second for the second out. Now we got Jesse Winker up. Cardinals are going to the bullpen. John King comes on in relief of Miles Michaelis, and he gets Winker to line out to Brendan Donovan at second for the third out. So Peterson's still on for the Mets. He's facing Wilson Contreras leading off. Contreras struck out his first 2 at-bats. This time Contreras catches a 3-1 curveball in the zone, hits a line drive to left field for a double. Peterson's mistake is he actually threw him a strike. Contreras struck out his first 2 at-bats on balls out of the strike zone. Now the Cardinals have a runner at second base, no one out. Nolan Arenado at the plate. Nolan hits a line drive to left field. Takes a couple of bounces before it gets to Nimmo. Nimmo doesn't have a very strong arm. Everyone knows this. Contreras scores easily. Cardinals retake the lead 3-2. Peterson is then facing Brendan Donovan, and he gets him to tap a ball that Peterson fields. Tosses it over to Alonso for the first out. That moves Nolan Arenado to second base on the play. And the Mets decide to go to the bullpen now, and that brings in Max Kranick to relieve Peterson. The very first batter he faces is Jordan Walker. Walker works a full count, but he pops up to Vientos at third base for the second out. Kranick then strikes out Thomas Sagasi on a 2-2 foul tip, and that gets the Mets out of the inning. Kyle Leahy now on for the Cardinals. He's replacing John King. Bottom of the sixth inning, his first batter he faces is Mark Vientos. After working Vientos away the entire at bat, he got to a 2-2 count. Vientos fouled off two strike pitches. And then he tried to go up and in on Vientos, and he didn't get far in enough. And Vientos turns on it. He hits a fly ball just over the left field wall, ties his game up. Game is tied, back at 3. Brandon Nimmo up. He lines out to Victor Scott II in left field for the first out. Leahy is able to get Torrens to fly out to Walker in right field, and then he gets Beatty to ground out to Donovan at second base to end the sixth inning, but the damage was done. Mark Vientos, leadoff home run, ties his game at 3. His second home run of the year, a home run in back-to-back games. Vientos is starting to get going, folks. Kranick is still on for the Mets in the top of the 7th, and he retires the Cardinals in order. He gets Pedro Pages to pop up to Francisco Lindor at short. Michael Ciani watches the slider at the top of the zone for strike 3, and Victor Scott II hits a line drive back to Kranick for the third out. Tyrone Taylor leading off the bottom of the 7th inning, and Leahy gets him to pop up to Wilson Contreras at first for the first out. Cardinals go to the bullpen. They bring on the lefty Jojo Romero to turn Lindor around and to face Soto behind him. Romero gets Lindor to ground out to Nolan Arenado at third base. Fires across the diamond to Contreras. That's 2 outs. Juan Soto then draws a 3-2 walk. And Romero goes full count to Alonso, who also walks. So back-to-back walks. Soto on second, Alonso on first. 2 outs, Winker up. Mendoza sends Sterling Marte up as a pinch hitter versus the lefty. The Cardinals counter. They bring on Phil Maton in relief of Romero. And Maton gets Marte to hit a routine fly ball to Ciani in center field for the third out. Ryan Stanek comes on to pitch the top of the 8th inning for the Mets. Kranick did a fantastic job, giving the Mets 1 2/3 scoreless innings yet again. Luke Baker is due up, but the Cardinals send up Lars Nootbaar to pinch hit for Baker, and Stanek gets him to pop up to Lindor at short for the first out. Stanek then gets Wilson Contreras looking on a 3-2 fastball at the bottom of the zone for Contreras' third strikeout of the game and the second out of this inning. Nolan Arenado then flies out to Nimmo on left for the third out. Mark Vientos leading off for the Mets in the bottom of the 8th inning, and he rips a line drive single off of Phil Maton to left center field for a leadoff single. Luis Angel Acuna comes on as a pinch runner for Vientos with Brandon Nimmo up. Acuna then steals his 6th base of the season, so the Mets have Acuna in scoring position at second, no one out. Nimmo still up. Nimmo then hits a hard smash at third base. Arenado fields it. He looks as he's about to throw to first base, then he runs into the baseline. Acuna is running from second to third. He just narrowly avoids him. He slides in head first to third base. Arenado's right behind him. He's diving with his glove hand outstretched, trying to make the tag. Acuna beats him to the bag, safe, but then he slides off the bag. Arenado's able to tag him just before Acuna is able to get his hand back on the bag. Mets challenge, and I believe at this point they challenged because it was late in the game. They wanted to take a flyer, see if it gets overturned, more so than they really believed that he was going to be safe. They took a shot. The call was upheld. Acuna was out. Nimmo on first now, 1 out. Luis Torrens up, facing Maton. Maton decides to throw over to first on an attempted pickoff play. He throws it away into right field. Nimmo goes to second base. So now we got Nimmo on second, Torrens up. Torrens doubles on a 1-2 count on a curveball, ripping it into left field, gives the Mets a 4-3 lead. That brings up Beatty, and he was called out on a 1-2 cutter that was inside off the plate. Maton got the call. Cardinals got the call. 2 outs. Tyrone Taylor's up. He had a big hit early in the game, but he grounds out to Arenado to third base. Fires over to Contreras at first and ends the 8th inning. Top of the 9th, Edwin Diaz unavailable today. The Mets bring on Huáscar Brazaban to try and close this game out. Luis Angel Acuna stays on and plays second base. After pinch running for Vientos, Beatty shifts over to third base. Brazaban starts Donovan off with a changeup to get ahead 0-1, but he goes back to the well. Donovan rips it this time down the right field line. Bangs off the foul pole, tie game. Brazoban then recovers though and strikes out the next three Cardinals. Jordan Walker, Thomas Sagasi, and Pedro Pajes all swinging to take us to the bottom of the ninth inning. Ryan Fernandez comes on in relief of Phil Maton for the Cardinals to face Francisco Lindor leading off the bottom of the ninth inning. The Mets are scheduled to have Lindor, Soto, and Alonso up this inning, but all they needed was your captain, my captain, Puerto Rico's captain. He should be the next captain of the New York Mets. Francisco Lindor, a.k.a. Mr. Smiles, crushes a 1-1 cutter for a walk-off upper deck shot to right field. He knew it was gone the minute he hit it. Everyone in the park knew it. Everyone on TV knew it. Lindor, as cool as an ice cube, gave a little grin, a little toss of the bat away from the plate, put his head down, trotted around the bases, with the Mets waiting for him at home plate to celebrate, the fans going crazy. Let's go! Let's get into the takeaways from today's game. Peterson wasn't as dominant, but he limited the damage throughout the game. He went 5 1/3. He allowed 3 runs on 7 hits, but what I thought was huge was he walked no one while striking out 9. Had he put some extra runners on base with free passes, the Cardinals probably have an extra run or two. So that was great to see that he had control of the strike zone. And I'm very encouraged by the evolution that we started to see last year with David Peterson. And I'm thinking that we're going to see him take another step this year. Welcome back, Max Kranick. Just kidding. He was only down for a day. Not that he ever left the team. But after being recalled back up to replace Siri, who landed on the IL, Kranick went an inning and 2/3. Scoreless innings. He gave up no runs, of course. On no hits, he racked up 2 more strikeouts. Ryan Stanek gave the Mets another scoreless inning. He has yet to give up a run this season. Now we have Diaz unavailable, so Mendoza decides to go with Brazoban. He immediately gives up a line drive home run off the right field foul pole to Brendan Donovan. Gives up the lead, tie game. He easily could have, kind of crumbled in that situation. He didn't. He recovered. He strikes out the side at that point. Gives us a chance, takes us to the bottom of the ninth inning. The Mets at the top of the order due up. We'll get to the bottom of the ninth in a minute. Brett Baty, another productive day at the plate. He had a double, a walk, a stolen base. Tyrone Taylor lined a triple to drive in a run. Met fans trying to be supportive give Juan Soto a standing ovation. He rewards them by getting a base hit to tie this game at 2 in the bottom of the 5th inning. Alonso, another good game, 1 for 2. He had a triple, 2 walks. He's not going to beat himself, folks. He'll take the walks, so that's what he's going to be given. Torrens with a big hit. He gave the Mets a short-lived 4-3 lead in the bottom of the 8th inning. But the bottom of the 9th, game tie, Francisco Lindor leading off, and he crushes an upper deck walk-off, his 250th home run of his career. He has 6 all-time career lists for home runs by a shortstop. He'll more than likely end the season in 5th, passing Derek Jeter, who sits at 260. Lindor has the chance to have the most home runs of any shortstop in history when it's all said and done, surpassing Cal Ripken Jr., 353. Let's enjoy them the here and now. Let's enjoy this team. Let's enjoy their fight. This team refuses to lose. Something clicked in them late last year. They went on a run, and that same aura of confidence has carried over, and rightfully so, to this season. Mets win. They move to 13-7. Cardinals drop to 9-11. Game 3 of the 4-game series is set for Saturday at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Kodai Senga on the mound for the Mets, going up against the lefty Matthew Liberatore. I'll be here to recap the game and provide any other noteworthy Mets news. But until then, Mets fans, let's go Mets!